Students, this is Dr. Cindy, and I am recording this first video because I'm waiting 24 hours to get my Go Live YouTube access. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your weekly assignment. So I am still looking through your introductions, and it's interesting how many of you were able to guess that I have not lived in Hawaii. I think Sam's Hawaiian t-shirts kind of threw people off, but I did live in Germany for 3.5 years, and we lived in Alaska. Sam lived there 19 years, and I lived there 3.5, and that's where we met. Now, we've been to Hawaii, but haven't lived there. Okay, so let's talk about week 2. This week you're going to be doing an introduction to DSM-5. Now that's this big heavy book. You get it as a free PDF, and I did load it on the course shell. The link to that is in the syllabus, but it's also, I just loaded it right on the course shell for you. There is a smaller version. I don't think I have it. There's a little handbook that you can buy. It's called a desk reference, and it condenses, just puts in primary things. Let me see if I have it here. I think Dr. Sam has it. Isn't that fun that we can just borrow things from each other? But that one is one that you can buy really cheap through Amazon for $13, and it's handy to have to just kind of look up things very quickly. But this big PDF version of this book is what you're going to be using to answer the quiz that you're going to cover this week. And just to give you an idea about the quiz itself, it's going to start on, you're going to be using just parts of the beginning of the book. So you'll be looking at questions that are in the preface and the introduction and the use of the manual. And so the first 25, I think, pages. Now, what I did was in the question, I put at the end of each question the page number where you can find it. Now, I'm going to give you a little secret. What I did was I got the PDF and I did the find or the search tool and search for keywords in the question, and then I highlighted where I found the answer right in the DSM. Right in the PDF. I recommend that you do that and highlight where the answer is, because the questions are covering good information that you may want to go back and review. We will be doing a final exam over the rest of the DSM at the end of the semester. So this part is just the introduction. Now let's see. There is a short 3-minute introduction to DSM YouTube video that I'd like for you to watch as well. There is a DSM presentation slide. That's my lecture. I'd like you to look at that as well. So that is it for this week. But what I'd like to talk to you about in terms of the overall class is that I have posted to the syllabus and also put the course schedule on the weekly assignments. And if you'll look at the link for the weekly assignments, where you go for the folders every single week, and those are dated with the topic. Inside each of those folders, you're gonna find the information you need for that week. I'm still working on a couple of things, but I have most of the information on there, and I'll be adding my video to each of those to give you some examples of experiences I've had in those disorders, to explain things, etc. But in the syllabus and textbook menu link, the syllabus is now loaded, and you will see in the syllabus, and by the way, in that syllabus and textbook link, you probably saw that the textbook we're going to be using there's a PDF free version that you can get, and those are the cases that you're going to be looking at to do many of your assignments, 10 of your assignments during this course. So that'll help you apply the information about that diagnosis to a case. You'll be using the same structure to do the case analysis every week for those 10 specific diagnostic categories. So I hope you have fun with those as we go along. But I want you to notice in that link, I also added the link to the DSM 5th edition and where you can download that. So the syllabus now is what I want to point out to you at this point. The syllabus talks about the assignments, so I'm just going to review it for you. You already have done your introduction, which is 5 points or 5%. This quiz that you're going to take this week is 5 points or 5%. You're going to do, next week is the assessment week, and you're going to do an intake that is used to create an assessment document. I went back and forth about whether to have you write up an assessment or do the intake, and I think as an undergraduate, I think you'll get a lot more out of doing the intake. And I just want to share a little bit the difference. And an intake is a data collection tool, the intake tool. So interview somebody, if you're in an agency, like a field agency or an employment agency where you have access to a client, or if you just want to interview somebody that you know or you work with or a friend, make sure that you do not include their name. Use a fake name. Last year someone said Peter Pan. That was good. And then not Peter Pan, I'm sorry, it was the dwarfs, the 7 dwarfs. So Snow White was the client, and then all her kids were she had 7 kids, they were the 7 dwarfs. It was really funny, but I digress. Okay, so you will be doing this intake, and the intake is a form where you fill in blanks and select boxes, things like that. So you can do that. You can do it handwritten. There are the last section of it asks for you to write out strengths. All I ask is that you make it legible so I can read it, because after you finish it, you're going to scan it and then upload it to Blackboard. Okay, so that's the assessment or intake assignment, and that's worth 5%. And then you're going to have 10 case studies. Each are worth 5%, and those are going to go over the major diagnostic categories. I think you'll have a lot of fun reading those cases that are in the textbook and trying to figure out the diagnosis and the treatment plan and that kind of stuff. Then week 14, we're going to cover case management, week 15 peer support, and week 16 crisis intervention. Those are going to be really dense chapters. So I really want to, I think I might try to incorporate a little bit of some of that information throughout the semester and talk about it with you. So you'll have an assignment in each of those weeks, and each of them will be worth 5 points. In crisis intervention, we're going to talk about homicidal ideations and suicidal ideations, which is very, very important. We'll talk about commitments and things like that. Excuse me. And then there is a final exam that'll be over the DSM that'll be worth 20% of your grade. And here's what I want to say about that. I'm going to open it up here as soon as I get finish loading all the questions in it. And I'm going to, and by the way, here's the questions. So there's a lot of them. I don't even know how many. Oh, there's 134 questions. So anyway, what I'm going to do is open it up as soon as I get that uploaded. I'm going to open it to you, and you can work on it as you go throughout the semester. Just work on it, and I'll keep it open so you can open it and then save it and then go back to it and save it, as long as it's submitted by week 17, which is finals week. All right, so let me think if I have any good stories to tell you before I end. By the way, I'm getting ready to work out. So I'm in my workout clothes, and that's no makeup, so you get to see me all natural in my home office at my house. I'll show you more. You'll get to know me pretty good by the end of this. So I was thinking about a story to tell you, and I think I mentioned about the dependent personality story. I wanted to share with you about something having to do with, it's a little bit tied into assessment, but I was talking with a client. I was working with Dr. Karen Cheney. She's a psychiatrist friend of mine who's moved on to Phoenix now, but I was working with her at her offices, and I saw a client and doing an assessment on her, and at the end of the session, she said something interesting, and I wanted to share that with you. First of all, when I'm with a client, everything disappears. It is me and that person, and that's it. I just really, that's called attending skills, and I attend to what they're saying. And so in the offices, there could be people walking around, outside in the hallways and talking. All of that seems to disappear when I'm really attending with a client. All I hear is them. Their story is what I focus on. So after our session, I'd collect information. I said, let's set up another appointment. Let's talk about the results then and where you want to go. And she looked at me as she stood up and said, how do you do this? How do you listen to all this pain hour after hour, day after day? And here's something you do not do. You do not say what I said. And I said, well, the minute you walk out, you just disappear from my memory, and I have to get ready for the next person to come in. Now, that may be true. It's called compartmentalizing. I have really good compartmentalizing in terms of clients. You have to. It's a protective barrier. But you should never say that to a client. Fortunately, she was pretty good about it, understood, and came back. But so I wanted to share that with you, and I want to tell you I'm glad that you're in this class, and I hope that you learn a lot, and I will see you next week. All right, bye.